From Nepal's streets to New York's ballot boxes, 2025 is being called the year Gen Z didn't just protest, they disrupted power. Leaderless movements, anime flags instead of party banners, and Instagram reels replacing press conferences and traditional media. Young protesters force governments to fall, policies to roll back, and politics to reinvent itself. So, what exactly made Gen Z protests different than regular political activism? And when does rebellion create reform? And when does it spirals into chaos? I'm Abhay, and you're watching Oneindia Explainer.
2025 will be remembered as the year Generation Z turned protest into a global political force. From South Asia to Africa, from Latin America to the United States, young people, mostly under 30, didn't just demand change. In several countries, they forced it. The spark. In Nepal, the trigger was simple and explosive. The government moved to restrict social media platforms, cutting off the very space where Gen Z lives, organizes, and speaks. Within hours, students and young workers flooded the streets of Kathmandu.
Corruption, every मान्छेको गल्लीमा आज फ्रस्ट्रेसन छ क्या स्ट्रेस छ मान्छेले एभ्री आफ्नो गल्लीबाट घरबाट यति तनाव लिएर आएको छ 2 दशक भन्दा बेसी भयो र यो चोरहरूले हामीलाई बारम्बार यति दुःख दिएको छ यो त एउटा सारो झिल्को मात्र जुन सोशल मिडियाको कुराले गर्दा आयो.
No party flags, no political leaders, just mobile phones, backpacks, and anger. The result? The Prime Minister resigned. The social media ban was withdrawn, Parliament was dissolved, and an interim government took over, all within weeks. Nepal wasn't alone. In Madagascar, Gen Z protests erupted over chronic power cuts, water shortages, and corruption. What caught global attention wasn't just the scale, but the symbol. Young protesters waved the one-piece pirate flag, a pop culture symbol of rebellion against corrupt systems. No slogans from old ideologies, just a message. We don't trust the system anymore. The government collapsed, the president fled, a transitional authority stepped in. A global pattern. Similar scenes played out elsewhere. In Paraguay, Gen Z-led protests forced the government to reverse decisions related to corruption and indigenous rights. In Mongolia, youth-driven demonstrations pushed the prime minister to resign amid economic stress and corruption allegations. In Bulgaria, massive street protests with young people at the forefront ended with the prime minister stepping down before a no-confidence vote. Across continents, the pattern was the same. Young protesters, rapid mobilization, and governments caught off guard. What made Gen Z protests different? These were not traditional movements. First, no leaders. There was no single face to arrest, silence, or negotiate with. Second, no uniforms. No white caps, no party scarves. Gen Z showed up in hoodies, sneakers, and college bags, looking more like a campus crowd than a political rally. Third, no traditional media dependence. These protests didn't wait for TV debates or newspaper headlines. Organization happened on Discord servers, Reddit threads, Instagram reels, Telegram groups. A single viral video was enough to mobilize thousands. This was politics at the speed of the algorithm. But disruption comes with consequences. In Nepal and Bangladesh-style protest environments, the fall of governments also brought instability. Violence, economic disruption, and uncertainty followed the victories. In Nepal alone, dozens were killed during clashes, raising tough questions. Is toppling a government enough, or is governing the harder challenge? This is where the Gen Z story splits into two paths. When Gen Z does it right. The New York example. Contrast this with New York City. In 2025, Zoran Mamdani won the mayoral election with massive support from young voters.
Thank you to the next generation of New Yorkers who refuse to accept that the promise of a better future was a relic of the past. You showed that when politics speaks to you without condescension, we can usher in a new era of leadership.
His campaign didn't reject the system, it hacked it. Gen Z volunteers ran digital campaigns, ground outreach, and voter mobilization. Not street chaos, but structured participation.
Well, I think it's good to have someone who's actually representing our interests for once. I think that's the fear around the world right now, that our leaders don't really represent us. And we got someone who's speaking truth to power right now. So I think that's why you got the crowd that we do right here, yeah.
The result? An historic youth turnout. And a reminder that protest energy can convert into political power if channeled correctly.
So here's the real question for next year. Should Gen Z take more interest in politics and social realities? Absolutely. But should countries be pushed into instability by borrowed protest templates and social media race cycles? That's where the real debate begins. Gen Z has shown it can shake governments. The challenge now is proving it can build systems, not just break them. That's it from our side, and keep watching Oneindia News for more updates.
Subscribe to Oneindia and never miss an update. Download the Oneindia app now.